back to the show. Today we have Shinjini Das. She's the founder and CEO of the Das Media Group. Welcome back to the show.
Hi, Kevin. Thank you so much for having
Yeah,
me.
I'm excited to have you back on the show. We did the radio version a while ago, and I don't know, you're kind of going through some of the things that I think a lot of people kind of want other people to tell them they're going through the same kind of things, right? Because I think that's super important and it's super helpful, because unless you're actually doing it, you don't really understand how other people don't really understand how difficult it can or can't be kind of doing your own business or startup, or right. And so I think you're kind of the perfect person to talk about that, because you're doing that. But maybe kind of before we get into that, let's maybe give the audience a little bit of a quick overview of kind of your background, and then we'll kind of get into some of that stuff.
Yeah, sounds good. So basically, like you said, definitely the struggle is real. I definitely want to say that. But yeah, so I am an engineer by training. So I graduated from Georgia Tech in 2014, sort of did the traditional corporate grind for about 2 years altogether. Digital marketing as well as technology consulting. It was cool. I'm very grateful for the experience. But like we were just saying before, definitely always wanted to be my own boss. Definitely knew that that's difficult, so which is why I didn't really entertain that as a viable possibility in the first 2 years. And so, yeah, worked at, other places. And then in 2016, last year, sort of officially took the leap. And, meanwhile, I was discovered by publicists. I had media representation. I was doing interviews on TV, all for free, right? Media is not particularly monetizable in that sense, was speaking for free. And so, I really had this idea of how do I build all of this great attention into a business? What is that business? And so here we are, not even a year later. And look, I think, and this is something that, I'd like to tell everyone is I think you also have to measure your milestones in terms of like growth, because not everything is financial. I'm going to break it to you. I know it's shocking, but the first year of any business is not that great.
Sure.
But especially financially, it's not. And chances are that you're going to be in a loss. But, I'm choosing to look at the growth that I've had in terms of personal, in terms of even clients, starting out with zero. Now it's like, okay, I have, more than zero. So this is good, right? Yeah, sure. Am I locking in, the corporate giants that I want, every day? Close, but it's one of those things where I would hardly recommend everybody considering the jump to also be realistic with your expectations, because I don't think the first year is going to be sort of that million mark. It's just not realistic.
No, well, but I think that's really good advice, right? Because I think there's a lot of people that are maybe working at a job and they think, well, I'm just gonna, start my own thing and a bunch of stuff's just gonna come at me right away, and it
Right,
might, but like
right,
the reality is, it can be tough, right? It can be tough for years. Like some people will tell you it takes 3 to 5 years to
right.
maybe start seeing revenue, right?
Yep,
Or at
yep,
least enough
yep,
to
yep. And I
not work a second
agree.
job or whatever,
Yes.
right?
Right, right, right,
So
right.
so I'm kind of curious then, what exactly did you end up doing, and with the DOS Media Group? Because you kind of have a bunch of things kind of going on. So what exactly are you doing with that?
Yeah, so basically it's a content creation agency. It's a digital creative agency. Because the thing is, I am a marketer, sure, but I'm not a fan of the whole like, I'll pay you $2,000 and get me into Forbes. Like that's not my cup of tea,
Sure.
because to me, it's too transactional, it's too base. I don't find it dignified. So for me, it's really about I'm a digital content creator first and foremost. And as I'm building out my team, I'm also picking up creators. I'm picking up graphic designers, I'm picking up, a creative strategist. I'm picking up creative directors, as we move forward. And so for me, we're a digital creative agency. So what we do is we create content for you, right? So whether that's an ebook, whether that's, video series, whether, and, we find appropriate partners for that. But let's say, it is a video series, like I'm actually working on, some branded content with an entrepreneurship education platform. So they want me to talk about, my journey, inspire others. And so this is going to be sort of a form of branded content. So really that's what it is in terms of its purpose, you know, it is to market, obviously, your
Sure.
products, your services, my clients' products and services, but in a way that's different, you know, in a way that's authentic. And I know you, Kevin, read my content. It's different. I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
how else to like tell you that, but it's meaningful, it's deep, it has some, intellect in it, and I think that that's not even intellect. I mean, sure, that's becoming a little bit more common, but it has an empowerment edge, which I think is amazing. So, like for example, if I market an IT solution, my spiel will not just be, oh, you know, buy this great solution, it's awesome. It'll be like, buy this great solution to empower your business to run more efficiently. Like there's a more like higher purpose edge to everything that I do, and I think that that's really special. So yeah, that's it. You know, in a short story, we're a digital creative agency creating digital content.
But I think you brought up some interesting things through that, because I think people kind of and companies struggle with that, right? Because
Yep.
it's you're when you're working on your own product or service or business, whatever, it's really hard to talk about it, or at least I think a lot of people struggle with how to kind of talk about that to their customers or potential customers,
Right.
because they're so close to it, right? It's like
Yes. Yes.
sometimes they need like an outside perspective to say like,
Yes.
this is how I see it, and this is
Yes.
how you're kind of perceived. And
Yep.
so, we either need to kind of figure out, is that like in line with how you want to be or
Right.
not, right? And then if it,
Right.
based on what happens, you need to kind of figure it out and change it or modify it to kind of accommodate that image, right? And so I think
For sure.
it's interesting, because I think like we're kind of at this new era where there's so much content online, and
Right.
how you kind of set yourself apart from that can be like a real challenge for a lot of people. And so
For sure. For sure.
how do you kind of work with your clients to kind of set them apart from kind of the
Mm-hmm.
noise, I
Mm-hmm.
guess?
Hmm. Hmm. Well, and that is my specialty, Kevin. That is why I decided to do all of this. I mean, am I a video, designer by heart? Like, no. Like, what I am is a content person, you know.
Sure.
So I think what I do really well, and I just wrapped up a keynote, because all of it is sort of the same, whether it's a keynote or a video or a whatever. I don't care what it is, but as long as it's some dissemination of content, it is my business. And so I just wrapped up a coding keynote, and there it was like literally there's like a global software user conference. I mean, total tech world, but I came in there kind of with a lifestyle edge, kind of with an innovation edge, with a technology edge. And what I did was I blended their ideals, because they're absolutely, a lifestyle company, as they are a tech company, as they are, in some ways a media company. And so what I did, and because that's who I am, right? I'm a blend. So what I do is I bring that multidimensional perspective, right? And the CEO and president really picked up on that, and they were very excited, because we're also living in a world where how can you say that you are only a tech company, but you are not a media company? Like, you're
Yeah.
everything, right? I mean, and so, and I think that I bring that multidimensionality because I'm also everything, and I think they really appreciated that. So yeah, I think so in terms of how I do it. And you're right. I mean, I do think about them from a differentiated perspective. I think that's also because of like the fact that I also meet and talk to a lot of people. So I actually can go to a school and be like, hey, you guys are actually pretty different. And I've done that. So I think it's a combination of exposure and a combination of being very, very multidimensional.
Sure. So for people that are maybe struggling with it a bit, like, is there any kind of advice or like tips that you can at least give them to maybe like start down the path of creation? Because
Mhm.
we've kind of talked about this before, where
Mhm.
it doesn't necessarily have to be this like crazy polished video, like
Right.
even right now. Like, I think the perfect example is like this show right now. It's like you and I are in different countries right now, and
Right.
obviously
Right.
we're side by side, but like,
Right.
this is not as good of quality as if we were sitting next to each other in chairs and like we hired a crew and
Right.
lighting and all this stuff to do this, right?
Yes.
But like,
Yes.
so you don't have to spend thousands or tens of thousands of dollars to like
Yes.
do something.
Yes. Yes. No, that's actually really true. And I will say, I mean, look, I think as you, grow, like obviously like right now when I do, and actually I did, now that you say that, I just hired somebody to do like a video shoot for me,
Nice.
because now I'm like there. But in the beginning, I mean, I sold myself on content,
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily have the budget to hire the, team and photographer and stylist and this and that and all that. So I think I absolutely would say that all of that stuff is secondary. And frankly, if you don't have meaningful content that engages with people, no amount of styling and lighting can help
Totally.
you. And that's the truth, right?
Yeah,
So,
and I think like too, they're pretty much all the big social media platforms are free to
yeah.
post to, right? So
Right. Yep. Yep.
there's
Yep.
kind of
Yep. So
no
yeah, there's no excuse. There's no excuse, and and I see that myself, and I'll be honest, a lot of the people who get sort of the crazy hits tweet about politics. They talk about sort of the current political climate, and I know that gets a lot of hits and views. But I mean, I think you have to define your niche. I mean, I know I'm not, you know. I'm not branding myself as a political person. So I'm a little
sure.
bit uncomfortable with going that far in, but I think you stick to your niche, whatever it is, and you have to develop good, meaningful content that connects within that niche, and you'll see that, if you do that on Facebook, you're going to actually build a pretty solid organic following, same with Twitter, same with Instagram, it is not entirely magical.
Sure. And I also think it takes time, right? Like
Yes,
it's not like 48
yes,
hours from now I'm going to be like a
yes.
Twitter sensation. It's like, well,
Yes, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? It's interesting because, and I see that too, a lot of, people I follow, it's like every tweet is, 3,000 likes or whatever. And it's like, that's great, but I would rather be someone who grows steadily, consistently, and sort of always versus like that one viral post. Right.
yeah.
Or that one viral, because I know LinkedIn is just killing the game right now. I mean, there are so many posts with like 10,000 likes, but I look at their feed and it's like, that's the only one that they had,
Yeah.
whereas like what I'm trying to do is like every post 100, to me that's
Yeah.
better than the one post that has 10,000 and everything has zero.
Mhm.
So,
But I
so,
think that's really good advice, right? And I
yeah,
think a lot of it, at least in my experience, is trial and error. Like I've been using this app called Crowdfire, which I
yeah. Okay.
really
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like for like,
Yeah, yeah.
it kind of helps you
Okay.
manage your kind of social
Yes,
media and like add
yes.
people and remove people and post
Right.
things and blah blah blah. And it seems to really work quite well, right? But so I think the thing is like,
Yeah.
at least the
Yeah.
point I'm trying to get across is like, don't feel scared to use like kind of third party tools to help you with some of this stuff because
For sure. For sure.
it's nobody really knows everything about everything. You can't, right?
No, no, not at all, not at all. And absolutely. And if you find someone who can like manage your account, my only thing is I'm not a fan of like obviously fake followers and fake
Mm-hmm.
whatever likes and stuff like that. So like obviously make sure it's real, but absolutely. I mean, if you can find someone to run an algorithm on your account and really truly follow people who care about you and they follow back and you grow to 250,000 in a couple of months, I don't see a problem with that as long as it's real. And
Sure.
I do want to say that it has to be real followers, it has to be high integrity. And the other thing is, not even like fake. First of all, fake is a waste of money, but they also don't engage because they're
Yeah.
eggs.
Yeah.
So you're literally losing on all accounts, not even on one account, so that's not a good situation for you. So,
No, that I think that's really good advice. So I'm kind of curious then, what's kind of the rest of 2017 and kind of beyond looked for you? Because
Mhm.
when we last chatted, you kind of have you're doing a lot of things and
Yes.
you're going for it, right? And you kind of have these pretty big goals for yourself, but I think to accomplish them you need to set big goals, right?
Yes, 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 yes. And I think it takes someone who sets big goals himself to recognize someone else. So I appreciate that. And absolutely. So yeah, rest of this year. It's pretty busy, because I think I'm finally at the point, because I remember last time we talked, I told you that, it was sort of, not even growth pains, but more of like strategic pains of like,
Yeah.
how do I become sort of a credible company? I think that's where I was last time, because I'll be honest, I've worked on my brand first before I've worked on the business. Now the brand is fueling the business, so it makes sense. But, I think it's been really difficult to build a company sort of that is credible sustainable and has meaning. So I think that's where we were last time. So in terms of this year, absolutely, my focus is the company, because I'll be honest, my brand is very, very stable right now. It's growing. People already know me. Like I'm not worried there. I think it'll only get bigger, and I have a grip on that. So really, my focus is the company. My focus is landing a couple of new key clients. Some, and the thing is, some big, some small. I'm not trying to only work with the eBays. I think that'd be great because I'm in the Silicon Valley, and that's awesome. But like, I also want to do small businesses. I also want to do nonprofits, and something that I'm putting. And I was just texting my friend about that. I think you have to explain your standards of like, hey, I'm not free. Hey, my speaking is not pro bono. Hey, these are my prices. Happy to negotiate, but like, understand that this is where I stand. I mean, I'll be honest, some people are walking away, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I'm fine with like people understanding my worth, because that's what other people are paying. You know what I mean? So like, why should I give you, 50, 500 less? So that's kind of my goal for the rest of the year in terms of companies, build out, the clientele, make sure that my services and offerings, it makes sense, so people are like, oh, she does that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's content creation. Oh, she's not just going to put me in Forbes. Okay, cool. So I really want that for the company. And then of course my own personal brand, obviously continue to operationalize that. A couple of very big projects in the works. Since we last spoke, Kevin, I signed with an entertainment agency
Congrats, that's
in
awesome.
LA. Yeah. So like, that's legit. So we're doing a lot there, a lot of development work, a lot of biz dev work, and also a lot going on. But basically, I would say the company is my number one priority, to build that out, and then also to sort of hire a team of freelancers, because I'm going with a freelance to hire model for now,
Sure.
and just kind of checking out, how they do, and how I do with like a team of 10, and then sort of growing from there. So that's it. It's a lot, but the other thing is, I think once sort of you get a flow going, I think it becomes easier, and that's definitely my goal for right now. Because even just things like your personal brand, I mean, this year I started on LinkedIn with like an average of 10 likes per post. I mean, nothing, like zero. Now I'm averaging like 80, 100, so it is sort of, and then once people are like, oh yeah, she's credible, they sort of like everything you do, they want to work with you, they want to do business with you. So I think that's where I am with my company now, is really just streamlining it, being like, hey, I'm here, I'm credible, these are who I've worked with before, they're awesome, they're super legit, this is why we should work together. So I think that's kind of where I am right now. Also, it is a longer sales cycle. I don't know, it's like schools, and everyone's like, okay, well, we are at some conference, and it's like, okay, cool. When do I hear back? I mean, I love that you're at a conference, but like, when do I hear back?
Yeah.
I think that's been interesting.
Yeah, I think like
So
you don't realize how long sometimes like just getting client feedback or booking a meeting can be.
Right.
Like, even if they're in a rush, but it's like, well, they're traveling and they're unavailable, like, what are you going to do while they're gone, right? And it's like, you're kind of at a standstill, and then you need to like figure out, like, slide in kind of other work, just like it gets complicated, right?
Oh,
and people don't think about it until they actually go through it.
Right. And I think, and that's my goal, honestly, and I've said this multiple times, but it is sort of to build a robust enough pipeline to where, I'm not worried if 3 people drop out, because I have 20 others, so, and I know we'll get there also, because my brand is just exploding. And as a result, people think, I'm credible and they want to work with me. So I'm not worried, but it's also one of those things, it's the first year. And this is just, sort of the hoops that you have to jump through,
Sure. No, but I think it's important to mention that even people that other people think of like quote unquote made it still struggle with kind of where they are, right? And I think that never really goes away. Like, no matter how far up the ladder you are, you always kind of still are struggling at something. Or you're like, I need to work on this and that, and I wish I was better at this, or I'm self-conscious about like these handful of things. Like, I think everybody has that, right? It's just at different levels, right?
Yes.
And
I think, I'll be honest, the first year, it's just also like the financial thing, right? I mean, let me just be straight up with you, right? Like, there's a certain target that you have to hit or whatever, but it's like in the future, oh, it's 8 million, not 5, not 2, whatever, right? Like, we'll get them when we get there, but right now it's literally like there's certain targets that I have to hit, so I think you're more desperate to succeed right now, and I think later you're more desperate to maintain your success. right?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different. And I don't know. I mean, I honestly look. I'll be honest. I think for me personally, it'll only get easier. I think this is the hardest.
Sure.
Because the thing is, if you're good at your work, and that's something that I definitely want to emphasize to everybody listening, you have to be damn good at your job.
Yeah, you need to
You know,
back it
so
up.
for me, if that's for me, if that's speaking, it's, content creation, like I need to deliver, and
Yeah.
that's something that I just will never excuse, that I won't be like, oh, I didn't deliver. Oh, well, like, that's something that I take very seriously. To everybody listening, whether that's, and that's like educating yourself, reading books. I'm reading Captivology, the science of capturing people's attention, because that's my job now,
Yeah.
so like, I think you really have to devote, to yourself, of learning and educating yourself, going to conferences, networking with people to learn, So I think that's the first thing. But honestly, I think that's been huge. Like if you're confident about your work and then you have sort of this awesome steady flow of clients who love you and, give you more clients, like I think it can only go up from there, But I think that first year, I've heard horror stories, so I know that I'm not alone,
Yeah.
in the challenge. So
No, and that's partly why I wanted to have you on the show, is to kind of have like a real conversation about that, right? Because
right,
it's very few
right.
people that are kind of willing to openly talk about their
Yeah.
first year while they're in their first year, right?
Yes. Yes.
So
Yeah.
I
Which is funny because last year this time, or no, in October, my Forbes interview, the
yeah,
one that I'm sure you saw too, was like, I'm jumping. I'm jumping. And here it's like I've jumped. So it's like a funny
it's good though,
thing.
right? Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
interesting,
It's like
right?
progress.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's cool to look back on that kind of,
Right.
and in a year you'll look back and be like, well, that was 2 years ago or almost 2 years ago,
Right.
right? Like it's just,
Right.
and then you're like,
Right.
yeah, it's interesting. So
I survived. I
exactly,
survived.
right?
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think, well, and then you can also start giving more advice to people kind of coming up and struggling through the
Coming up
same things you
for
went
sure.
through, right? And kind of
For
mentoring kind of the
sure.
next thing, right? So I think that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
But we're running out of time, so let's maybe close the show with mentioning where people can get more information about yourself and the company.
Yes, absolutely. So, find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook public page at Speaker Shinjini. That's SpeakerShinjini. Right now, add me on LinkedIn, Shinjini Das. And then my website, my personal website is www.shinjinidas.com. Company website is www.thedasmediagroup.com. It is currently under development. It is looking fresh and it'll be live soon. But for right now, all of your inquiries for digital content needs to market your products and services, please reach out on LinkedIn, DM me. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time of your day to be back on the show, and look forward to keeping in touch with you, and have a good rest of your day.
Of
Bye.
course, Kevin. Thank you. Thank you. It means a lot.
Hey,
All
bye.
right. Bye.